Hey guys, Jaclyn Renee, holistic health coach and digestion specialist. I'm back. Welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to discuss all things gut health because of course it's my favorite thing to talk about. But specifically, breaking it down a little bit more, we're going to be talking about leaky gut. So we're making bone broth today. Bone broth is incredibly healing for things like leaky gut or digestive issues or reducing inflammation in general. But I want to back up for a minute and explain to you more about digestive issues, leaky gut, and some of the symptoms you may be experiencing so you can understand them a little bit more, and maybe this will help you have some tools to be able to heal your body. Now, most of my clients come to me complaining of constant chronic bloating, constipation, diarrhea, gas, any sort of digestive issue that seems to be bothersome in their regular lifestyle. But where does that stem from, or where does it even start? Digestive issues begin when the body has been introduced to chronic inflammation. So much like any other part of your body, when the body is in turmoil, the immune system creates inflammation to protect you. So let's say I tripped over this counter. Who trips over a counter? I don't know, but I tripped over a stool, I fall on the floor, I scrape my hand and it's bleeding. I wipe away the blood. Over the next few days, the wound starts to heal. Now the redness, itchiness, and the scab that you see is actually your immune system's pushing off inflammation to protect you. That's like acute inflammation or something that happens then and it's healed and then it moves on. When we're talking about chronic inflammation, we're dealing with long-term inflammation that's going on in the body because the immune system can't shut down. So when we talk about terms like leaky gut or colitis, Crohn's, digestive issues, autoimmune terms, we're talking about long-term chronic inflammation where the immune system cannot shut that down. Well, how does leaky gut even start and how does one get it? So it can start by being exposed to environmental toxins, toxic triggers like caffeine, sugar, alcohol, and then for some, having food sensitivities like gluten, dairy, corn, soy. Those are the highest ones. And I discuss more about food sensitivities on my Instagram page, Jaclyn Renee Wellness, so you can check it out there. I have a ton of information on food sensitivities, and I do testing for my clients as well, so you could look into that too. So environmental toxins, toxic triggers, those are what we put into our body via food or drink. Big time with the caffeine, sugar, and alcohol, that creates it too. And then regular stress, anxiety, stress, job, relationships, life, work, all those things that put us into a state of fight or flight response. When the fight or flight response is engaged from our nervous system, that also creates long-term inflammation. It wears and tears on our gut, it wears and tears on our body, and so again, we're creating inflammation, chronic inflammation. Is that making sense? So your immune system, your nervous system, and your digestive system are all so directly connected through the brain-gut connection. One does not decipher from the other. They're all working in unison with each other. So if one is off, I'm super stressed and anxious with work, the other ones start to engage in a negative way too. Digestive system becomes off because fight or flight response engages and our digestion shuts down, or our nervous system is engaged, so our immune system pumps chronic inflammation. Is this making sense? It is somewhat of a vicious cycle, so we have to take a deeper look at what we're eating, what we're eliminating, and how we're coping with stress, okay? So really important, what we're eliminating, what we're eating, and how we're coping with stress. Those are three really, really important things. So let's take a look deeper at leaky gut. So let's say you already have bloating, digestive issues, all this stuff. What has transpired? Leaky gut is when your intestines have been permeated and the elasticity has been compromised, and now whatever is going through your intestines is now going into your bloodstream. So if you look at an intestine, like a small intestine or a large intestine, there's a connective tissue shield from the tube where everything goes through to the bloodstream, okay? So if everything's flowing through and the permeability and elasticity is totally fine, you should feel really good. Over time, that inflammation that comes through, like I said, the food sensitivities, the toxic triggers, the stress comes through, creates bad bacteria. The bad bacteria then grows or develops into inflammation and starts chipping away at that connective tissue. It's almost like a woodpecker chipping at a tree, right? The more the woodpecker chips, the more the tree will be broken down. And so think of your intestines as a tree and these toxic triggers as a woodpecker. Makes sense, right? So if that starts to push onto your intestines there and it breaks through, it creates cracks where then food that you're digesting goes through the crack into your bloodstream, making it extremely toxic to your body. Your immune system, your nervous system all get super engaged from it, and they have a big problem where they create a big problem where they're trying to fix your body, but they can't. So it creates inflammation to protect you, but it's not the right kind of inflammation. So now we have disease, now we have leaky gut. And actually, your gut lining is one of the fastest healing sort of muscles or tissues in the body, but it's also one of the hardest to get to heal because we're constantly bombarded by toxic triggers, environmental triggers, and stress lifestyle, right? So what we like to do at JRW is to include healing foods, remove toxic triggers, and include healing foods that will start to heal the gut lining. Now, we're gonna be making bone broth today. It's super easy to make, it's super fast. I like to make it in an Instant Pot or a crock pot. So it's up to you whichever one you wanna choose. Be careful with crock pots because a lot of them contain lead on the inside. So mine is stainless steel, so it has no coating. A lot of crock pots have coating and that contains lead, and then that leaches into your food, and we do not want that happening because this is going to simmer for at least 12 to 18 hours, and we don't want that kind of negativity in our life. You know what I mean? So, bone broth. You can use bones of fish, beef, chicken, pork, whatever works for you. Now today I found, I don't always find these, so I was super excited, but I found grass-fed beef bones at Whole Foods the other day, and they were pretty inexpensive. So I was super excited for it. In this case, you have an opportunity. You can roast them first before you create the bone broth, or you can just put them in raw. It's up to you. So you want to use about 2 pounds. This is actually about 3, so I'll probably use 3 big chunks of this as we're going to add everything into our Instant Pot or a crock pot. Now, let's talk about the bone broth. I'm sure you've heard of it. I'm sure you've maybe sipped on it. Why are you sipping on it? Why are you having it? What does it even do? Now, bone broth specific use is to heal the permeability of the gut. So I just talked about leaky gut. I just talked about how you can get those cracks and inflammation in your gut. Can you believe that there's a drink that actually heals it? Now, if you consume about 6 to 8 ounces of bone broth a day, you're getting about 10 to 15 grams of protein. You're getting the collagen from the bones. That's what actually heals the gut. It's very calming, it's very soothing, it reduces stress. So you're putting this into your normal routine diet. You can cook with it, you can sip on it, and you're actually healing the gut over time, which is so important, right? Okay, let's get into cooking so I can shut up and we can talk more about food, right? All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is just get our Instant Pot or crock pot ready. Now, I'm not using the Instant Pot as a pressure cooker, so you don't need one. You can use the regular crock pot if you want. You can also do this on a stovetop in a big pan, okay, or a stock pot. So I'm gonna go ahead and place my bones in here. So I'm just gonna use 3. I'm gonna freeze the other ones because those will stay for a really long time. So I can use those in a different soup or put them in a broth or something for later cooking, okay? Now we wanna add our veggies. These are our prebiotics, okay? So I have onion, celery, and carrots. The best thing so obviously we know onion, carrot, and celery as mirepoix. The best thing about broth is that you don't have to get fancy with your cutting. You don't have to do like you're doing a soup, like slice and dice and it has to be perfect. All you have to do is add it in. So I actually will just cut the onion in half, just like this, and add it in. It doesn't need to be sliced or diced. Now with the celery, mine was a little pre-cut, but I'm even gonna add the celery leaves. So we're doing a whole stalk of celery. Easy. Carrots, they add a lot of the flavor, but I wanna use these carrot stems too because they have a lot of good nutrients as well. So I'll just kind of break this down here so that it fits. Good, carrot stems. And then this is a lot of carrot here. So I'm just gonna break these guys down a little bit more. Okay, so far so good, it's in there. Then we wanna add herbs. Now adding herbs is adding a healing element to the food, okay? So we always want a healing element. So I'm doing parsley and cilantro. So I'm gonna chop that, boom, add that in. How easy is this so far? Now, another thing that we want to add as a healing element is apple cider vinegar. So this is going to help cook the broth. Apple cider vinegar is really great for gut health, is very cleansing for the bowels. It provides that additional healing benefit. So we're going to go ahead and put a couple tablespoons in here. Now, you can add salt and pepper now if you want. I add just a little bit to get it going, but you can do it after because you want to taste it to see, because a lot of the beef and some of the veggies are going to add so much flavor. You don't want to overdo it with too much other flavor, okay? Let's throw these out. Now, another healing element that you can add is ginger. Ginger is a great healing element for gut issues. It reduces inflammation. You guys know I talk about it a lot in my drinks. And you can add a chunk or two in for additional healing element. You could add turmeric, you could add other herbs, anything that you really want inside of this broth. But I'm gonna do sort of a ginger beef broth here because I'm hoping to make some delicious, like some kind of Thai udon bowl later. So that's what I'm gonna do with my bone broth. So I have everything in here and now we just need to add the water in to cover it up. All right, so purified water, okay? Not tap. We want clean water only for our bone broth. So I use a purifier at home. You can get an alkaline filter or use, a nice big, huge stainless steel filter, whatever works for you. You can get some kind of system in your house, but try to stay away from tap water and or purified bottled water because we don't want any plastic added in. So I have my clean water. I'm just gonna go ahead and add that over everything. Get that nice and good. And it will create its own juices too, so you don't have to feel like you have to have so much water in there, but you do want to cover, okay? So if you have the Instant Pot, you're gonna lock and load and push the valve to the back, and we're gonna go slow cook, and we're gonna do low for, I'm gonna go 18 hours. Yeah. Now, you can do shorter, but if you're gonna do shorter, I would recommend roasting your bones first so that you get that flavor kind of coming in, okay? So here goes my bone broth is in full effect. Now, when you're done making the bone broth, let me grab you a jar here. When you're done making the bone broth, I recommend sealing it in a nice mason jar, okay? And that way it keeps for you, or you can put it in like a freezer safe like glass Tupperware and keep it in the freezer. But if you do lock and load a ball, jar, then it will stay for a really long time for you. And then what I like to do is just cook with it with my rice or make bowls with it, or even just have like an afternoon sip with it. It's super healing, super calming, especially if you're craving, something bad. Because in this day and age, it's really easy to crave something bad and comfort. And so we want to go to things like mac and cheese or like a big old sandwich that's going to hurt our gut health, especially if we have leaky gut. Well, this is something that tastes delicious, but will also sort of heal you and make you feel good after that. So bone broth was so easy, right? I have a chicken bone broth recipe on my website at jaclynrenewellness.com. This is the beef one, super easy to follow. You can basically use the same other recipe, but just with beef bones. Or even replay this video because it was super easy to follow. The best thing is to ask your butcher and find these bones from them. Grass-fed, make sure they're grass-fed, make sure they're organic. We don't want any hormones or pesticides or any poor quality animal bones going into our soup. Now, if you're vegan and you're watching this or even got to this part with vegan, even though I was using bones, you can do something like the Medical Medium's healing broth where they use shiitake mushrooms for the same type of nutrients versus bones. If you are someone who's struggling with gut issues and it's been a long-term chronic issue for you, I know what it feels like, and I know that it can feel very isolating and very alone and super overwhelming. There are a lot of things that you can do to start healing your gut. I have a free Beat the Bloat training video on my website. I have really inexpensive meal plans, free recipes on my website as well, jaclynrenewellness.com. You can always book a discovery call with me. It's 20 minutes, it's completely complimentary. We can talk about what you're going through, what your plan is, where you want to be, what your goals are, and how we can get you there, moving through, peeling back the layers of your gut health. I test for food sensitivities. I have at-home stool testing kits to test for poor bacteria or gut permeability as well, and a lot of plans and programs to get you started. You do not have to struggle alone or in silence, because I know personally how bad digestive issues can mess with your life and make you feel really, just crummy throughout the day. I myself had them all my life, and it is the exact reason why I promote so much gut health today. I've bounced back from ulcers, colitis, so many digestive issues, and anxiety, and I know you can too. So thanks for following along with this fun bone broth recipe. It's fall, it's time to get sipping. And if you want any more tips or have any more questions, you can check me out at jaclynrenewellness.com or follow on Instagram at jaclynrenewellness. Enjoy!